Imagine moving to a new country, very excited about a new fresh start, and everyone around you is really starts warning you about life in Sweden and how hard it is, and you're pretty lucky if people will remember that it's Sweden, not Swiss, because I'm living here in Sweden for 3 years and I still got asked how my life in Switzerland still, like, I was like, why? It's Sweden, it's not Swiss. It's like different geography and everything. So, yeah, and today I'm going to talk about expectations versus reality about Sweden and what I actually think about it. Is it true or not? So, let's dive in. Okay, first of all, everybody will tell you how expensive this country is, and this is kind of true if we compare it to, I don't know, to Russia where I'm from, or to Spain, or some other countries like Poland, for instance. But if you compare in Sweden to Norway or to Denmark, it will be different prices, but still the same range of expensiveness, I suppose. So it's not that expensive. And yeah, it's still, I think sometimes it's still the prices like in Amsterdam, here in Gothenburg. So it's, yeah, like, and when you're talking about expensive country, you need to remember that you have not only expensive products but also higher salary. And yeah, like, but if you're talking about me moving from Russia, for instance, and comparing how much I can afford here comparing to what I could afford in Russia when I was there, and I was working as IT. I was front-end developer there, and I'm front-end developer here as well. But in Russia, if you're working in IT field, you getting like a lot of money. Literally, you almost like a king there with this money, comparing to other people who working in other fields. And I don't know, like the difference between you as IT developer and a person who's working for marketing, or I don't know, just like a teacher, or who else I can remember, I don't really know, but it can be like 10 times more for software developer compared to other professions. And yeah, so this is why a lot of people who also came from Russia or from Belarus and having salaries here, they, yes, they're higher, like if you're talking about currency, but if you're talking about how much you can afford, it's a little bit less here, because here salary is more adjusted to, like, to be not very extreme. We still, I suppose, get higher salary than average salary, but it's not like 10 times more or even 2 times more. The other thing is for sure more expensive here is alcohol, but I cannot say this is true for 100%, because like if you go into System Market and you're buying some simple beer or simple cider, it's not that expensive. It's like €1 or something. But if you go into cafe or bar, it will be extremely expensive. It could be €8 per glass of beer, for instance. Then I already told you that I'm from Russia, and last 5 years when I was in Russia, I lived in St. Petersburg, and yeah, I heard a lot from my friends who also moved to Sweden from Russia that Gothenburg, where I'm living now, looks like St. Petersburg, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's the same, because I think I would have some videos here from St. Petersburg and from Gothenburg, but yeah, like, I can understand what's common between these cities. Like, they're close to sea, they have a lot of rivers, a lot of channels, whatever it's called, a lot of bridges, and so those fireworks. I was really afraid of it. Yeah, so if we're talking about St. Petersburg and Gothenburg, I think they're common also in the weather conditions, because it's rainy, it's really foggy, and it's a lot of humidity during winter. So yeah, maybe this is it. And also sometimes I can see in Gothenburg the buildings that looks familiar to me, and if you're not having signs in Swedish, you can probably see that you're in St. Petersburg. But it's not everywhere, not among the whole city, but for some regions it's true. Then there are a lot of stories and news from Sweden about crime, and this is what people warned me a lot, how unsafe it is to move into Sweden. And yeah, but literally, if you're reading news, you'll get a lot of strange things. And yeah, like for instance, in St. Petersburg, we had the professor who killed a lady, the student, and threw her body into the river. And this is like in the middle of the city center almost. And yeah, so crime is literally everywhere. I think here in Sweden, like it's talking and showing a lot. I mean the news, like people here not hiding it, but they releasing it. And comparing to Russia, that yeah, you can sometimes see such news, but not on the big spread, I suppose. So yeah, I wasn't really worried about it because I knew how much in Russia the crime rate high, and not everything is included, and here it's a lot of stuff that included into this crime and rape rate and everything. So it's not really concerning me that much. So I was pretty chill about it. And yeah, I'm kinda still is. I know that crime rate getting higher here, but yeah, I'm reading some news from my small city I was living in before, not from St. Petersburg, and it's every day something happening, like oh somebody gets stopped or killed or the car stolen. So yeah, I don't really know. Okay, let's talk about other thing. It's called In Darkness, and yeah, you can see it's 3 p.m. and it's not very dark, but there's no sunlight. And yeah, I would say that winter in Sweden, it's really depends on the city where you live in. And I'm living in Gothenburg, I already said, and it's warm. I haven't seen snow yet. It's almost New Year, and no snow. Yeah, so I would say it's kind of warm here, and I really like it. But it's raining, and raining, I don't really appreciate raining. And yeah, but I think today is very beautiful. And yeah, I would love to see some snow. And I know if you want to see snow, you need to go to north, and I plan to do it someday because I really would like to go to Kiruna, for instance. And yeah, but for regular ordinary life, I would prefer the weather like it is now. And yeah, except darkness, I would really love to see sun again. But actually this December, I think we had several sunny days, and it was very wonderful. And yeah, because I can definitely see how my mood starts to liften up when we have sun. And when it's fully dark, like today it's foggy, it's not very dark, it's whitish, grayish. But when everything is super dark, I feel very depressed. But I have a video about it actually, how I'm dealing with this depression. And also, you see people wearing some bright colors, I wear bright colors, so it helps me. Next, people told me, oh, you will need to have 2 months or even more to find a nice apartment. And yeah, I'm really glad that we were so lucky that our company paid and helped us to find the apartment for first 3 months, so we had time to to know more a little bit the city and the districts and what we like, or like where our office located and everything. And yeah, so after I think when it was already a month and a half, we started looking for our apartment. And I have a video about apartment system here, I suppose. So I will probably link it here or in the comments. So yeah, but you need to know that there are queuing system here, and also apartments that second-hand apartment and first-hand apartment. And yeah, so we found a second-hand apartment actually within 2 weeks, or even the first week. And everyone told us that we're very, very lucky, because it's not usually happening like this. And yeah, but we now living in our third apartment, and the second one we also found within 1 month, 2 weeks maximum, or 3 weeks. And yeah, so it's not really that big problem. I think maybe because we're in Gothenburg and it's not that crowded as in Stockholm. So if you're in Stockholm, probably the situation will be a bit different. But here, I know that yeah, you can wait several years to have a nice first-hand apartment, or you can spend months looking for apartment. And what I also need to say you that I was really picky about my apartment, because we visited my partner and we visited about 5 apartments, and we got a kind of agreement and confirmation from the owner for several of these apartments. And I was like, I don't like the location here. I don't like, I don't know, like there's not close to the forest or to the sea or whatever. So yeah, we're not really just took whatever we were suggested. And then when we came to Sweden, it was the January of 2022, and on February the war started, and I got a lot of messages from family or from family friends about how their attitude towards Russian in Sweden, and like, are you speaking Russian in the tram or bus? And I was like, this is ridiculous, because I already heard this talk about how people not like in Russia or Russian people or Russian language in general when I studied in Poland. And I like, because in Poland it was long ago when people told me that Poland and Russia has difficult relationship, and you can be bullied because you're speaking Russian and everything. But I lived there for 6 months and everything was fine. And also Russian language is not only the language of people living in Russia, but also people living in Kazakhstan and other post-Soviet countries. So I think its language is just a tool for communicating. And yeah, so literally I was very sarcastic about like this bad attitude towards Russian and everything. And yeah, I've never heard any hate towards me or my boyfriend, but I saw a lot of curiosity, and also kind of people were very helpful when we got rejected from banks, because like when sanctions start, we cannot use our banks anymore, bank accounts, and we've been waiting for Swedish personal number and bank ID and everything. And yeah, it was a little bit tough with money. And every Swede we knew in our work, they came to us and they were like, do you need any help, how's your parents and everything. So it was very welcoming and warming. And the other thing is that I don't really know, but it's very interesting. Like, I think Sweden and Russia has have very long relationship between each other. The countries have a lot of wars together and everything. So and I really like the idea that people here they kinda understand that Russia, it's a state, it's government and everything, and people just people, and yeah, so it's they might disagree with government and everything, and yeah, so I think the curiosity part here in Swedes is mostly about what we are thinking about the government and what is really happening in Russia, because almost never was talking about it. But my boyfriend, he met some people in the gym, for instance, and they were like very curious about Russia and the government, and like, oh, what are you thinking? How is your life changed, or how parents' life changed and everything? So I was like, this is not this hate that people so it's not hateful speech, yes, it's just curious. They might be a bit cautious because yeah, you never know if you meet the person who supports the war or the government, the current Russian government, and we always like no, we against it. And I actually moved and actually wanted to move here or just in Europe generally, because I was like, I don't agree with our government and don't think it's good, and our like political stuff sucks and everything. So here we are. Then it was a talk that no one actually awaits you here in Sweden, and I would say that no one waits me in any other country, in any other Russian cities, for instance. Yeah, because it's fine. I'm okay because I know that I'm building my own life, and I literally, after these 3 years, I see it here, and I'm really, really glad that I came here, because I wasn't really certain about where I want to move, and I think I will create another video about it, but mostly it's like I was asked to go to London, for instance, or to Cyprus, and then it was Sweden, and I was like, okay, Sweden is nice, sounds nice. And yeah, so here I am, and I think that kind of my big challenge here is to learn Swedish. I'm doing it, I'm understanding better now the Swedish language, but yeah, it's still challenging me, and I know it's only me who creating kind of the social network, the circle of close people and everything. So, and I really want to be involved in this, and yeah, I feel like it's fine if no one is really awaiting you in other country, and this is the talk that kind of people just place a seed inside you for this guiltiness that you live in the country. And yeah, I don't really like it. I think I'm welcomed everywhere because I see the world as welcoming and open place. So it's really it just reflects how you're thinking about the world, I think. What tells people knowing about Sweden is boring. And usually, I think because there is a picture of Swedish small cities where there's almost nothing, it's like the village. And also, I was recently researching about other YouTube channels about Sweden, and they're mostly about living this tiny cabin in the middle of nowhere in the forest and living the simple, very slow life and everything. So I think this is the big stereotype about Sweden, but it's kind of true, I think. But if you live in the big city, I mean like Malmö, Gothenburg or Stockholm, it's different. And yeah, like I don't think it's very boring, and it also depends on how you used to spend your hours during your lifetime. And yeah, like I mean, I really enjoyed being here because we have here the bars, some events, yoga classes, master classes, workshops, meetups, everything. And yeah, it's not maybe that much variety as I had in Moscow or in St. Petersburg, but we cannot compare these countries like Sweden and Russia and Moscow and Stockholm or Gothenburg and St. Pete, for instance. Kinda, yeah, I can compare it because it's similar in the way that Stockholm for me is more like Moscow and Gothenburg is more like St. Pete in terms of like it's two kinda big capitals of the country or big cities of the country, yeah. And we're talking that Moscow is very in hurry all the time and people more aggressive there, and in St. Pete everyone is like very calm and it's more European atmosphere and vibe. And for instance here in Gothenburg I also hear a lot of stuff about Stockholm, like it's everyone is so like in rush or people running everywhere in the subway and everything. So I think in these terms it's kind of similar, but yeah, like I can find here anything I want almost, and if I don't see what I want, I can think about creating it. Like, oh, we used to have in Russia in my university, we had some swap parties and everything, but I can find it in, for instance, in Facebook accounts, or I can create and gather my friends to have these parties together. So it's not a big deal, and we have some small events here, like a lightning show in Alentos, for instance, and I think this is very wonderful because yeah, it's just like having some idea to go somewhere and to see something new. And yeah, like it's not boring. Like, what do you mean boring? I don't know. And yeah, but if you're living in smaller city, for instance, I have friends who came from Linköping to Gothenburg and they also lived in Russia, for instance. And for them, yes, Linköping is very small. Like you have several restaurants and cafe and that's it. So they were like, oh, we need something to go, or at least we want to have this opportunity to go somewhere. And I think this is what the most important is, to know that you can go somewhere. Like for instance, I'm not using yoga classes or any like or some of other activities that we have in the city, but I was like, "Oh, it's nice that we have them. If I have mood, I can go there." And then, if you're moving to Sweden, I really wanna warn you about other things, not only these very stereotypical ones, but I think a lot of people who come into Sweden, they found food here very salty, and I like salty food, and this level of saltiness is fine by me. But a lot of people around me talking that this is too salty, so be prepared if you're going to a restaurant or cafe and you're having lunch. Just know what to expect, and especially if you have kids, for instance, and they don't eat that much salt, so it's good to know. And yeah, and also about lunches here, I really like that we have here lunch buffet and you have salad bar, so it's not only your main dish but also some salad plus coffee, and you can also ask to refill the coffee for free. It's nice option, I really like it. Then what everything it's licorice, and you can find not only goodies licorice like candies, but also yogurt or ice cream or whatever. Like I think one year it was on also sausage with licorice. I was like, wow, this is so weird. And I'm still not a fan of licorice, and yeah, but I think it's funny and it's nice to try if you love it, or just to find out if you really like it. And yeah, I think that's it for now. And thanks for watching. And if you're interested in Sweden and me, I have a video about my cultural folks here. Thank you. Puss puss.